I'm going to start off this morning with something that I believe is what everybody in the entire world should be concerned about or interested in this morning. And yes, it is slightly political, but I think you'll see that I'm not really making a political statement here. But what I want to talk to you about is the State of the Union address. I had three takeaways. Number one, the speech was well crafted. Congratulations to the speechwriters. However, it was boring, not inspiring. And I'm not the only one to say that. Read an NPR article that said the same thing. So I think it was not that exciting. There was no inspiration. There was no challenge. There was no expression of some kind of great future that we should all be headed towards. Number two, Biden delivered it way better than expected. He had some beginnings of dementia evidence, but he's always been a little bit off in terms of his ability to craft a speech and to say it well. But overall, not bad in terms of the expectations that we had in terms of whether he would be able to deliver it or not. And he did a good job. What does that mean? That means that this should end any talk that Biden is going to step aside or that he's going to be forced out or that somebody, that Michelle Obama or somebody's going to take over this role of being the Democrat presidential contender. So that was a number two takeaway. I think this is very, very important for, everything that we're looking at going forward. Number three, it was by far the worst policy list that I've ever heard. Not close. And I've watched pretty much every State of the Union address for the last 40, 50 years. Piling billions upon billions of new spending programs. Everything that was on the list was about spending money on special incentives for housing, special things for the continuing to send back, let people out of their debt with regard to their student loans. I mean, I don't want to go down the whole list, but basically it was spend. There was talk of grabbing some money from billionaires. It worked out to $50 billion a year. It's not even worth talking about. That's a rounding error. $50 billion a year is not going to help. It's going to take care of 1/3 of one of the programs, maybe that was recommended or suggested that we add to the list of the ways that we're spending money. The country is going to be, may already be, but certainly in the very short term, there's going to be some serious issues with regard to our indebtedness, with regard to these deficits, with regard to the interest that's being piled upon those deficits, with regard to the spending that we're doing in wars around the world. I didn't see anything in the speech that talked about what we're going to do about that deficit. There was, of course, the statement that he had dropped the deficit by $1 trillion or whatever, but that was all COVID related, had nothing to do with the basics of the spending. Anyway, that was my opinion. Was that too political? Let me know in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with any of those points, or do you disagree? Did you find something inspiring? Did you see something there that would cause you to go, all right, I need to go out there? And I mean, I just didn't see that. Even if I took a step back and looked at it from the point of view of a person more on the left, I didn't see the inspiration. All right. Number two, let's get on to Tesla. Tesla Best, at Tesla Best this morning on X. And of course, that's Lars Strandritter, co-author of the Elon Musk mission. Apparently, we have some leaked documents that have revealed the power of the new performance Model 3. Ludicrous. They're true. Of course, we're not sure about this. Should come in with a staggering 617 horsepower, combining the two motors with a 406 horsepower in the back, 211 in the front. About 115 horsepower more than the old performance Model 3. So I guess we're talking about a sub 3-second 0 to 60. Very interesting. Again, were I a bit younger and had a need for any kind of a car right now, which I don't, I would be buying this car for sure. It wouldn't even be a question. I'd be putting my name at the top of the list. All right. By the way, Tesla is breaking through resistance this morning. the 180 level, it's breaking through, it's working on it. It's trying to stay above a $2 gain for this morning, but will it hold? Well, we'll take another look in a few minutes. Also from Tesla this morning, Tesla and a few other companies recently announced the launch of the Electromobility Association, the EMA, to promote the production and purchase of electric vehicles in Mexico. Along with representatives from Tesla, Chinese automaker BYD, Europe's Volvo, which is actually Chinese, JAC, SEV, and Vimo formed the EMA. During a conference, Shirley Wagner was introduced as the president of EMA. She said the EMA has to be that reference that helps the main electric car companies to integrate into the Mexican market. If not also that the citizens themselves begin to abandon the use of combustion-based cars for an electric one. Yeah, all right, cool. Like that. I wish I'd see some shoveling down in the facility, down on that land that Tesla's been sitting on now for a year. I'd just like to see some beginning of leveling of that lot so they can start putting up some foundations, etc. What's going on? I just don't understand. It's supposed to start on the 3rd. We're now well past the 3rd. What's going on? All right. From Alojo, ALOJOH on X, breaking. The German Motor Traffic Department just announced that the Tesla Model Y was the best-selling BEV in Germany. Oh, I thought we were having trouble selling product in Europe. Well, okay, all right, okay. This is Randy Kirk, by the way. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify. Of course, as usual, we will have later this morning, well, not as usual, Cern Bash is doing such great work. Everybody really loves his slides and his analysis and what he's put together. We had one yesterday. If you didn't see it, you should see it. I'll put up a card later. But he's got another one like that this morning where we're going to continue to look at the ways to value Tesla. Very, very different takes, very, very different looks. He even talks about the fact that, a PE ratio is a lazy man's way of looking at something. Very interesting. You'll really enjoy it coming up later today. Might have Larry with me tonight. We haven't decided on that yet. I'm waiting to hear from him. And then tomorrow morning, though, Larry for sure, as we take a look at Cathie Wood's monthly analysis. You don't want to miss that. Joining Patreon would be something you should consider. Down below, you've got a link. You just hit on that link, go over there, and you can join at the $3, the $5, or the $10 level. Okay. Turning to the economy, the change in this is very, very big, okay? And the headline was completely wrong this morning. Nobody got the headline right. Here's what the headline should have been. The change in total non-farm payroll employment for December was revised. Are you shocked? It was revised down by 43,000 from 333,000 to 290,000. That is, of course, almost a 15% reduction from the previous month. But listen to this. But the change for January was revised down by 124,000 from 353,000 to 229,000. That is by a third again. Last month, we had a revision on the December by a third. This month, we have a revision on the January by a third. So with these two changes, the January combination is 167,000 less than previously reported. Okay, keep that number in mind, 167,000. So monthly revisions result from additional reports received from businesses and government agencies since the last published estimates and from the recalculations of seasonal factors. Well, the next headline should have been, in February, average hourly earnings for all employees on private non-farm payrolls edged up by only a nickel to $34.57, following an increase of 18 cents in January. Average hourly earnings were up by 0.1% in February and 4.3% for the year. This is a good number, getting closer and closer to under 4% and then under 3%. But the headline really was that the economy added way more jobs. The headline everybody's looking at, we added a bunch of jobs, 275,000. Wait. Take away 167 from the 275. You've got an increase of 100,000. and the unemployment rate soared to 3.9%. Well, I think the stock market is getting it. I think the bond market is getting it. I think that they read the numbers the way that I did. We only added 100,000 jobs. You got to subtract the revisions. And you got to assume that there's going to be, if you've got, I think, what is 10 out of the last 11 months revised down by big numbers, you've got to assume that the number we just saw is going to be revised down. Is this purposeful? I just don't get it. I don't think we've been seeing these. Well, I know we haven't been seeing these kind of revisions in prior administrations or in prior even years of this administration. What in the world is going on? All right. I told you we'd follow that Costco earnings call. This is from CNBC. Inflation was roughly, I didn't care. Okay, Costco did well. They missed a little bit, I think, on the revenue, but they beat on earnings. I really wasn't interested in that. This is what I was interested in. Inflation was roughly flat year over year in the quarter, which allowed the retailer to reduce prices on some items. For example, it has been able to cut the price of reading glasses from $18.99 to $16.99, slash the price of Kirkland signature batteries from $17.99 to $15.99. In the prior quarter, he said inflation was as much as 1% year over year. Looks pretty good to me. Truflation this morning ticked up a bit, but still at 1.63. The lowest it's been recently, 1.59. I mean, when I say recently, for the last year or so. All eyes will now be, what are we going to be looking at? We're going to be looking at CPI and PPI print next week, mostly the CPI, of course. If we see some downward movement there, more in line with Truflation's number, obviously the treasuries will, the yields will come down more. And of course, if it's the opposite and we have a surprise on the upside, which would be shocking at this point, would be impossible to understand. I know I keep hammering on the fact that our government can't get the numbers right. They just are doing a horrible job at collecting data and then presenting data and then even getting it close to right in their own mind by having to revise. So big the very next month. Well, let's take a look at whether Tesla has been able to hold 180. Okay, so far we're still holding 180, only up $1.54 now. I've been up as high as 250 roughly, I think, but up $1.54, $180.19. So that, if we can hold on to that 180 all day long, that would be bullish for next week. We've got the Dow up 162, the NASDAQ up 122, S&P up 27. All of those things are trending upward this morning. Tesla is doing more of this morning, has been running ahead of the rest of the market, but has, again, been very shaky on holding on to that 180 level. We've got the Magnificent Seven looking like it is all up, with NVIDIA up 30 additional points this morning. I guess it's going to make a run at 1,000. We've got the Cathie Woods basically all up except for PayPal down 7 cents, but all the rest of them are up nicely this morning. Now, that would tend to tell me that the bond, what? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to give the percentages. There are some of you who like that percentage number instead. We've got the Dow up 0.43, NASDAQ up 0.76, and the S&P up 0.53. Tesla right in the middle of all that, up 0.66 at this point, just under 180. So not holding, at least at the moment. 179.84. All right, now let's take a look at the bonds. We have got the bonds down. Wow, it's only down 2.1 basis points, but that's the right direction at least. We're at 4.071. Really should be going under 4% at this time, in my opinion. You've got the rest, though, of the long terms are down more. So more on the order of 4, 5, even 6 basis points on the 3-year, 7 basis points on the 2-year. That would be a shrinking of the inversion a little tiny bit. But the 2-month, interestingly, is up this morning. You can't make this stuff up. Okay, let's go on to the oils. The oil business, we've got that down 39 cents, sitting at 78.54. It has basically been perched at 78 for most of the week. Brent moving about exactly the same. Natural gas down 0.66% this morning, not even a full percent at 180. We have got the dollar looking like it's going to continue to hold on to this drop from the week. We have got gold up 13 more at 21.78, a record high again. Copper down a tad, down 0.71 at $3.80. Call it $3.90. Potentially, could break through $4. We have got the Bitcoin at 68,640, up 773, 755. Anyway, and yeah, all right. So all of that is definitely, yeah, that tells that story. Let's go back real quick and take that. Well, let's wait for a minute. Let me just say one more thing to you before we look at Tesla one more time. I was talking about that Cern basher. It was a fascinating look at ways to value Tesla. We looked at charts showing where Apple and NVIDIA and Amazon were just months or a few years ago, showing their free cash flow, showing their earnings versus the stock price. Unbelievably interesting. If you didn't see that yesterday, here is the card, and you're going to want to go take a look at that. And then later this morning, we'll do part 2 of that, which was equally fascinating. We've already done the video. It's just a matter of putting it up. You're going to be, trust me, you want to see both of these. So go back and look at the one, and then today, later around noonish in California, we'll run that other one. And then I might have Larry on tonight. Not sure. We haven't decided yet, but it'll either be me bringing in the good news or it'll be Larry and I together. But tomorrow morning, Larry will be on for sure as we look at what Cathie Wood had to say about the economy over the last month, as well as what she's looking at in terms of going forward. Okay, now let's go take a look at Tesla, and it is still sitting just under 180 now. It's only up 86 cents at 179.51. Fascinating to watch this as the morning progresses. All right, that's all I got. It's been great talking to you.